It is a feel-good Friday morning on Smooth 98.1, your love music, love life station, 31 minutes past 7 a.m. It's always a feel-good Friday, but there's a bigger feel-good factor because it is the final Friday in the year 2024. And also, it is the final freshly pressed on a Friday, right here on the Smooth Breakfast. Ayokunmi here, ready to walk you through all the major stories and developments that have been going around in the dailies across Nigeria in the last 24 hours or thereabouts, just to bring you up to speed, get analysis on the stories, get your thoughts, your reactions, your feelings, your opinions. Hey, we love to hear from you each and every single day. And you can do that once again by sharing your messages with us on WhatsApp on 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 981. You can always do that. You can also join us on YouTube. We're streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All right. Joining me this morning to take a look at the stories and, of course, give their own unique perspectives and analysis as well to give us a better idea, better understanding of the stories that we'll be taking. AB Bozimo and, of course, Joseph Obari are in with me this morning. Good morning to you and happy post-dated Christmas celebrations and compliments of the season to you.
Happy Christmas to you. Nice to see you, Mr. Joseph. And Merry Christmas to all of the listeners. And I pray for a superb 2025 and beyond for all of them. This is
I
the final
say,
Friday. Let's make it happen.
I say, wonderful compliments of the season to everybody, to AB, to Ayo, wonderful team, and our great listeners. So I wish you very sweet times and happy holidays.
Thank you for the very kind words, AB and Joseph. And you know what? It has been quite an adventure all through the Fridays with both of you on Freshly Pressed. Always a pleasure having you. And today isn't going to be any different. But before we get into the stories, just to let you know, you need to head over to YouTube. Once again, AB has decided to shed the toga of Santa Claus. He's wearing blue today. So the red is gone. But once again, another beautiful building is behind him right there. So to see what building that is, you need to get over to YouTube. Once again, that's Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All I will say is that architects are like superheroes. Yes, I know people have to build the structures, but the way they come up with these designs, I don't know how they do it, but it has to come from somewhere. Content creators, architects, more or less the same thing as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, let's get into the stories this morning and we're going to get into the punch. This is more or less an update to the story that has been developing in Sokoto State concerning the accidental bombing. We took this story yesterday and we're going to continue talking about it. AB, let's get into this one. Now, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has warned civilians harboring suspected criminals to desist from such acts or to face the consequences of their actions. Now, he stated this during his visit to the troops of Operation Fasan Yanma at 8th Division headquarters in Sokoto State. Now, when we talked about this story yesterday, the military had categorically said that those that were killed in that particular bombing, they were members and or associates of the Lakurawa group and all that, even though it was said that civilians had been affected. Even the governor of the state had to speak about that and so on and so forth. Now, one thing I want to take out from this, I'll also cast our minds back to yesterday when we talked about the story concerning the illegal oil refining in Bayelsa states that had to do with the illegal refiners using women and children as shields and so on. And I asked the question as to whether they were there of their own volition or whether they were there under duress by force and so on. Now, we've heard stories about these terrorists being somehow supported by the locals because they share some common language or culture and so on and so forth. Now, the Chief of Defense Staff is warning civilians harboring any suspected criminals, stop it or face the consequences.
Now, when we heard about this, it harkened back, unfortunately, to other stories we've heard where the military or the Air Force, in pursuing some of the terrorists who are disturbing happy, simple Nigerians' lives, have also mistakenly, killed some civilians. I think it's rather callous of the CDS to be giving a warning when people who at least are reported to be civilians have been killed. I understand the mission. I am somebody who continuously talks about terminating the terrorists. I give no quarter to terrorists. But when mistakes are made, I think the focus should be, like the governor and other people have said, on an impartial investigation. In any project of any nature, it is possible to take something you learn from it, something to improve the next time. I think a word of sympathy for those who might have been killed inadvertently. I don't think the military set out to kill any civilians. I would take it at face value that they set out to terminate terrorists like Lakurawa and other such scurrilous groups in Nigeria. But
Mm,
when incidents, or what you can call friendly fire, occurs, I think the tone should be more of concern and contrition rather than this strident warning. You can, you shall, you must kill terrorists, but we must avoid civilian casualties. And like you said, in some instances, it may look as though people are harboring them, may look, and in some cases they are. But in some other cases, it might be under duress where they are brought in as human shields. So I just think the tone taken by the CDS is most inappropriate in this context. Let us see what went wrong. Let us see how we can improve the intelligence upon which we base our sorties to strike the terrorists. Sometimes you might decide not to set the people on the group if they are potentially what you call collateral damage of
mm,
civilians. I just think the tone was all wrong. He's not reading the room at all, and it's most insensitive.
Okay, I mean, Joseph, when I took the story yesterday, when we took the story yesterday, I asked the question that could this be the military doing some damage control? Now, the Chief of Defense Staff has been speaking here. Now is this clearly a case of doubling down, trying to, should I say, prove a point that what happened where was we targeted terrorists, we killed terrorists, and we're not going to hear any other side to it. What we did was right, no matter what the investigation is, we are not going back on our stance. Could that be what is happening here, possibly?
Well, it's difficult to say because we are not there and we have not got all the facts. It's only an impartial probe that can give us that. Unfortunately, you need to depend on the military to be able to conduct such a probe properly too. And one thing the military has been insistent as far as this particular case is concerned is that they had credible intelligence which
Mm,
was verified and was basis upon which they took the action, the mission was ordered. It's not unusual for terrorist groups to use innocent persons as shield.
okay.
I mean, it's the story in Hamas and all the other places. They do that, they use that tactics. And it could be that Lukarawas are actually doing this, knowing that the military will strike, and they will use it as a way to attack the military and put the pressure on the military to withdraw. So I can't really blame the chief of defense staff so much if he is warning people. But this B said, the warning should have human face. It shouldn't
Mm,
just come at this time. It should be something that would have come out of proper investigation. If he had come out to say, we've done our rudimentary checks and we actually were striking at terrorists, we are sorry that there were collateral civilian damage losses as a result of this, and we are sorry that we just had to take whatever. That would have sounded a lot more humane than the way he said it came out so brash about it, So it's unfortunate that this has happened. And I will say that let's cut the military some slack, because in the past, when they actually established that they made mistakes, they came out of it and they came out up front and said, oh, we are sorry, we made mistakes and so on. But this time around, their tone is different. I think there is something to take out of that, that they are sure that they were striking at terrorists. How they have managed the side effect of that is not pleasant, and that's what the B has emphasized.
All right. Interesting thoughts. Now, there's a message here that I want to take that somewhat speaks to this. Now, this is Mohammed Kabir from Sokoto State, all the way from Sokoto State, and it says on the alleged bombing of villages. I live in Sokoto, and I'm a witness to the recent attempts by the military to flush out these terrorists in accordance with the president's orders. Therefore, I have a strong feeling that the alleged bombing of innocent villagers is simply an attempt by Lakurawa sympathizers in government to blackmail the Nigerian military into abandoning the recent onslaught and air raids in these terrorist hideouts. By the way, these communities harbor terrorists and even shield them. Now,
Yeah.
this is this is coming from someone who says he lives in Sokoto State, speaking
I
here.
have no doubt that something like that is happening, but how he's managed, how he sounds, it's just like B says, it's very important. Yeah, okay, so we don't know the circumstances under which these people are being used or they are part of this. Coercion could be a major factor. Intimidation could be a part of it. So just because somebody is similarly to acquiesce, it's like an unfortunate case of rape where the person seems to be submitting to it, but it's not party to it. So you have to manage that sensitivity because you don't know exactly the circumstances. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not what you say, it is how you say it.
Absolutely.
Very, very important to keep that in mind. Let's take a very quick break right now. When we come back in, we'll still talk about military matters, but this time talking about Niger, talking about Nigeria, talking about France as well. To find out more, keep it tuned to Freshly Pressed on the Smooth Breakfast right here on Smooth 98.1. We've heard stories, Sha. I mean, this whole issue, and Joseph, like you said, all them Hamas and co that are using
Of
civilian
They
course.
do.
and all that. It then
A
becomes
standard operating procedure for terrorists. So I'm not saying, as I say, I am the first to hail the military when they terminate those toads anywhere they find them. So, but sometimes collateral damage happens, and not just in Nigeria. But I just think there's a way to put it across to sympathize with individuals who may have not been part of the deliberate, maybe have been used as human shields to say you are warning them. It's a bit painful, especially when somebody maybe they took your son and your son was among the people, as a coercion. These people that come and seize people by kidnapping and all that, what do you do? If they bomb Leah now in Boko Haram, will we say she was there on her own? Does she want to be there? That Leah of the girls who were if that happens, Anyway.
All right, let's get back in. You're listening to Freshly Pressed on the Smooth Breakfast on a feel-good Friday morning, 27th day of December 2024, 45 minutes past 7 a.m. Ayokunmi here, and we are taking a look at the papers and the headlines making the news, making the rounds, getting analysis and your thoughts as well. Talking about your thoughts, please send those messages to us on WhatsApp on 0809 444 0981. That's 0809 444 0981. You can also join the live stream on YouTube if you're more of an audio visual person. It's Smooth 981 FM Lagos on YouTube. Smooth 981 FM Lagos on YouTube. You can drop your comments there as well, and I'll definitely be taking them alongside the WhatsApp messages. AB and Joseph are still in this morning, taking a look at the stories and giving their analysis. All right, Joseph, before we went on that break, I did mention that we're heading into the Guardian to talk about Niger, Nigeria, and France as well. Now, the federal government of Nigeria, that is, has dismissed the allegations by the military leader of Niger Republic, General Abdurrahman Tichani, claiming collusion between Nigeria and France to destabilize his country. Now, according to the federal government, these claims exist solely in the realm of imagination, as Nigeria has never engaged in any overt or covert alliance with France or any other country to sponsor terrorist attacks or destabilize the Niger Republic in the wake of the undemocratic change in the leadership of that country. Is this Niger grasping at straws, blowing up smoke, or something? I mean, I know that recently there's been more of a closeness between Nigeria and France, but is Niger just trying to muddy the waters here, or what could be going on in this instance?
Well, like I always say, unless you know the truth, you can't really categorically say what's going on. But we can read certain things that happen around and then draw inferences. Chiani's outcry is not coming out of the blues. There have been stringent voices in northern Nigeria. Once Tinubu signed an agreement or MOU, whatever, with France, he went to France, visited France,
Mm,
so whatever. Some voices rose up in northern Nigeria, castigating him and threatening that he could not launch operation against Niger from northern Nigeria. I saw quite a number of videos and statements made at that time. Unfortunately, our federal government did not debunk those warnings that people and the reaction. They didn't react in any way to responses from people in the northern Nigeria who felt that Nigeria is planning to launch an attack from northern Nigeria against Niger using France. And of course, we know the kind of bitter politics of ECOWAS with Niger
mm,
Republic and their group.
right.
So the point is this, it's not coming out of nowhere. It's not just out of thin air. There's some bit of logic. If your own citizens are alleging that you're going to attack Niger, you're going to provide your land as a base to attack Niger, and you didn't say anything. You did not say anything. So why wouldn't the man, the president of Niger Republic, draw conclusions that maybe there is something really in the offing? So it's always important that those managing information are all on top of situations, and that they address everything, no matter how insignificant it seems. At that time, when these comments were coming from northern Nigeria leaders and so on, some people, they felt it was just noise and we should ignore them. But you can now see where it has panned to, and then you cannot, it's not out of anywhere. I mean, the circumstances of France leaving Niger Republic wasn't pleasant.
Mm,
And they have got deep interest. A resource base of Niger was their mainstay. The finances they were getting was also something. So you don't take honey out of somebody's mouth and expect you will sit down. So it's logical for Niger leader to believe that there's something in the offing for Nigeria to start hobnobbing and embracing France the way it's doing. And then stringent voices are coming from northern Nigeria about an attack against Niger Republic, and which was never countered by the government. So there
mm.
is some logic in the thread.
All right, AB, just hypothetically here, this is just a hypothetical situation that I want to bring up. Now let's imagine that there is something to these allegations made by the Niger military government that Nigeria indeed is planning to do something like that. What would that mean for Nigeria, the government, going forward? Because we've seen these issues where we've had countries being used as bases to launch some covert or overt operations and so on and so forth. What would that mean for Nigeria in the grand scheme of things?
Well, the first thing is that Nigeria should understand that it's best to keep our neighbors closer to us, because I aver that to us, to France, we are as disposable as any other nation that they tortured for all these decades. When you think of the poverty levels in Niger, and you think of the cruelty that the French did when they were pushed out, they didn't leave, they were pushed out of Niger. Right now, if France is looking for a base and we're providing ourselves already base, we can be endangering ourselves. I think the interest of Nigeria and Nigerians must be paramount in all considerations. We must not anger our immediate neighbors who can now allow their country be a base upon which Nigerians are attacked to please some country far away from us. that will 99% of the time deny Nigerians visa to visit them. Just keep that in mind. So what it means that Nigerian government should focus on keeping Nigerians safe. And that means keeping our immediate neighbors in our corner. Of course, mixed, we have denied this stridently that we have never planned anything militarily with France. We have said it clearly now. But like Joseph said, a seed was planted that we could have squashed way back then, but we didn't take it seriously. Well, we can start damage control now. We must be fast and serious about it.
All right. Let's talk about some matters concerning education. Still staying in the Guardian. Now, the Federal Ministry of Education is to defend and produce its budget with 285 million naira. Meanwhile, on another hand, the planned implementation of a new curriculum for basic schools by January 2025 is facing significant uncertainty due to the federal government's slow pace in preparing for the rollouts. And education experts have, however, condemned the revised curriculum, labeling it quote unquote dead on arrival. AB, I'll let you take it from here.
I think the most interesting part of this story is that within the 2024 Appropriation Act, there are 12 pages for education. So with the sum of 285 million naira, it implies that it costs 9.363 million naira per page of the education budget. I repeat, with the current Appropriation Act, the Ministry of Education is effectively saying it costs them 9.363 million naira per page. What does that tell you? It tells me, at least, that those in the Ministry of Education have no earthly idea what their purpose is, how to move the education sector ahead. What on earth are you spending 285 million naira to do when there are tools online with which you can collaborate, tools online with which you can publish, tools online which you can host information and update it on? You are trying to publish. Let's not talk about the curriculum yet. We went from 1 to 5, 6 to 3 for how far? You now want to bring QEDA or whatever it is. What is all this jumping around? Meanwhile, we are not producing the content that will make Nigerian students more productive and agile. In fact, most Nigerians who are succeeding despite our education sector, not because of it. And that should not be the case. We're not putting enough into research and all that. So this just tells you about the mentality of waste in government. 285 million to produce to defend your budget, produce and defend it. I think this kind of thing should bring the Minister of Education and all those involved. They should be put in EFCC cell and they should have discussions at length because this is a criminal mindset. I repeat, what on earth are you doing that needs 9 million per page to defend the budget? You're going there, of course, there are things like refreshments, sitting allowance, there are all sorts of things
The
just to defend the
regulars.
budget. The regulars, the irregular trademark. So at the end of the day, there is no effort that I can see to minimize the cost of governance. I'm not saying an amount may not be said, but there are many much more efficient ways to do it. Get a good Teams or Zoom platform, have remote meetings. COVID made a lot of things change. There are ways to cut down the cost. There could be a series of important meetings, but not to this tune, to produce a budget that literally does not move our Nigerian education sector ahead. What would it be if we put that money into electronic screens in various institutions and into things like, just the things that will make education move forward? I think this is a misplaced priority. That's what I'll call it, a completely misplaced priority.
All right, let me take a quick message here before we get back in to the stories. This is coming from Barrister Dan Okuda. It says the collateral damage in the Sokoto bombing incident is highly regrettable, but that is not to take away the fact that a number of Northerners are sympathetic to the cause of these terrorists. All right, thank you for that message and keep them coming. Joseph, let's get into the vanguard this morning, heading over to Osun State. Now, Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun has ordered the commutation of the sentences of 53 convicts, including a boy sentenced to death for stealing chicken and eggs. Now, Adeleke, in a statement by his spokesperson, Olawale Rashid, on Thursday, said the order was in line with the recommendations of the State Advisory Council on Prerogative of Mercy. He said the recommendation by the council is to mark the 2024 Christmas celebration. Now, I remember this particular incident. It was in the news a couple of weeks, 2 weeks ago or thereabouts, where there was a back and forth over, he actually was sent to jail, or he was convicted for armed robberies. Some said no, it was because he stole a chicken and some eggs. And in fact, the Osun State High Court, dismissed the widespread reports suggesting that that's what happened. And they said the claims were actually maliciously distorted. But Joseph, let's give a legal perspective to what is happening in this case, and in generality, what has happened with the pardons of these 53 individuals.
Okay. So the governor, in the exercise of his powers provided in section 212 of the Constitution, exercise the prerogative of mercy on some of the people serving jail terms, various jail sentences in the prisons in the state. And this is what governors do. They are authorized by the Constitution to do so. And he has commuted some sentences. Some people who were on death row have been let go completely. Some of them, their sentences have commuted to years imprisonment. Some persons who have were jailed for minor issues were forgiven completely, pardoned. This other case that has generated a lot of interest on social media it shouldn't be looked at with that simplicity. It's not just a matter of who stole. It's not theft. That trial, no judge will sentence you to death for stealing eggs and chicken. No judge will do that. The law doesn't provide for that. The sentencing for stealing is different from something as grievous as being put on death row. So that in itself should establish the fact that once you steal, or when you rob somebody with arms, you are an armed robber. It doesn't matter what you stole from a person. If you steal an empty purse, it is not the substance of what was stolen that is the matter. It is the act of robbing somebody with weapons. So this trivializing the sentence and saying, oh, it just was a stole chicken and all that, they've achieved a result, a positive result for these convicts, in the sense that with this debate and social media interest it generated, it pushed the governor to release him. But he was convicted for armed robbery. Convicted for armed robbery. So the justification that, oh, the person must have been hungry, he needed food, it's not tenable. And if that is the case, then of course every armed robbery is justified. You say, I'm a very poor person, I was hungry, that's why I went on the road and carried a gun and I robbed people. So I think this is where one case where public opinion has swayed the governor to act wrong. That's my candid opinion. From the legal perspective, there was no reason whatsoever to begin to trivialize the sentencing of that person who was convicted for armed robbery. Unless there was some miscarriage of justice ab initio, and the judge was, if that is not the case, and he was properly tried and found guilty of armed robbery, then the offense is armed robbery. It's not what you stole. In fact, some armed robbery operations may not be successful. But once you are tried, you are found guilty of armed robbery, robbing with dangerous weapons, then you answer for your crime. The Nigerians are just so sentimental about things, and every time, oh, just because you're starving doesn't mean you should rob people. You should not. So let's take sentiment out of this. And that's one thing about it. The justice woman is blind. I mean, that's what how the judge acted. It doesn't matter whether you stole 6 eggs, 1 crate of eggs. But the point was that you broke into somebody's farm, holding dangerous weapons, threatening lives, and stole. It's a different ball game altogether. So that's it. But the governor has got that prerogative. He can commute sentences, he can forgive. In fact, he can pardon somebody. And like in the case of this guy, he let him go free. I mean, President Biden just did the same thing for serious crimes. Also, Biden has done it. Obama did it. Trump did it in the first time. So it's what the law provides for them, and they have just exercised that. But I think people should get that perspective clearly, that the law is blind to sentiments.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, Joseph. AB, any final words in 30 seconds before we wrap the conversation? Because we've got to go.
Until and unless you've been a victim of armed robbery, you will not understand what Joseph is saying. Whether they were successful or not, the horror, the terror, the fact that your life is in somebody's crazed hands is not something you want to experience, even if they didn't succeed in taking a pin from you.
All right. And on that note, we bring a close to our final Friday Freshly Pressed for 2024. Thank you for being a part of the show. As always, sending your messages and keeping it tuned. And big thank you to you, AB, and to Joseph as well. Once again, a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you. Happy New Year to all of the wonderful listeners. Happy New Year, Sir Ayo. Happy New Year, Sir Joseph. Enjoy the rest of the dirty December, as I hear.
Happy New Year to everybody. Just stay safe, enjoy yourself, and let's hope for a brighter future and greater times on this show. Thank you very much.
Most definitely. All right. Once again, thank you for being a part of the Smooth Breakfast, as always, on Smooth 98.1. Don't go anywhere, because the locker room comes up at 8:15. We get to talk about sports and all the good stuff.
Wonderful, guys. All the best. Yes.